Beamy, 32 years old, senior web developer at a boutique digital marketing agency. We do high-end, bespoke websites for clients with more money than sense. Think interactive 3D product showcases, complex e-commerce platforms, the whole nine yards. It's a good gig, pays well, and the work is challenging. The team, until recently, was a well-oiled machine. There were 5 of us on the core technical and creative team. Me, the lead developer; Liam, our server-side guru, the guy who could make a potato host a high-traffic website; Ben, our user experience and interface design genius, he could make a nuclear launch sequence look user-friendly; and 2 other guys, a project manager and a junior developer, who left for greener pastures a few months back. We were a tight-knit group, worked hard, played hard, you know the drill. Our boss, the founder of the agency, was a chill, older guy named Richard. He handled the business side of things and let us do our thing. Last year, Richard decided to retire, sold the agency to a young, ambitious woman named Serafina. Serafina was everything you'd expect from a modern, progressive CEO. She had an MBA from a fancy school, a power suit for every day of the week, and a vocabulary full of buzzwords. Her main talking point, her entire brand, was feminism and diversity, equity and inclusion. Now, I'm all for a fair workplace. I don't care who you are, what you look like, or what you do in your personal life. If you can do the job, you're good in my book. Serafina, however, had a different approach. She didn't just want a diverse workplace. She wanted a workplace that was a living embodiment of her ideology. Her first all-hands meeting was an experience. She stood in front of us, radiating confidence, and told us about her vision for the company. A company that would be a beacon of female empowerment and inclusivity in the tech industry. A company that would shatter the glass ceiling and dismantle the patriarchy, one website at a time. Liam, Ben, and I exchanged glances. We were happy for her, I guess. We just wanted to build cool websites. Then came the changes. Our old, comfortable office with its worn-out couches and video game posters was problematic. It was replaced with sterile, white furniture, inspirational quotes from female leaders on the walls, and a lactation room that nobody used. Our casual dress code was replaced with a professional attire policy. Our Friday afternoon beer and gaming sessions were replaced with mandatory unconscious bias training. It was annoying, but we rolled with it. A job is a job, right? The real problem started with the new hires. The 2 guys who left were replaced, but not with the best candidates. Serafina made it very clear that she was prioritizing diversity in her hiring decisions, which, again, is fine in theory. But in practice, it meant that we got a team of people who were not qualified. The new project manager was a woman named Luna. She had a degree in gender studies, and her only project management experience was organizing a campus protest. The new junior developer was a non-binary person named Kai. They had just graduated from a 3-month coding boot camp and had a portfolio of half-finished to-do list apps. And the new graphic designer was a woman named Jasmine. She was a talented illustrator, but she had 0 experience with web design or user interface principles. Liam, Ben, and I were now the old guard, the remnants of the toxic masculinity that had apparently plagued the company before Serafina's arrival. We tried to be welcoming and helpful to the new hires. We really did, but it was like trying to teach a fish to ride a bicycle. Luna, the project manager, had no idea how to create a realistic project timeline. She would promise clients the world, and then look at us with wide, pleading eyes when we told her that we couldn't build a fully immersive virtual reality shopping experience in 2 weeks. Kai, the junior developer, struggled with the basics of coding. I spent more time debugging their code than writing my own. They were a sweet person and eager to learn, but they were hopelessly out of their depth. Jasmine, the designer, would create beautiful, intricate illustrations that were completely unsuitable for the web. Ben would patiently explain to her the importance of file sizes, responsive design, and user-friendly layouts, and she would nod along and then go back to drawing a 10-megabyte photorealistic portrait of a flower for the home page header. Our productivity plummeted, Projects that should have taken a month were now stretching into 3. Clients were getting angry. Serafina, however, was ecstatic. She would parade the new hires around like trophies. She would write long, glowing posts on LinkedIn about our amazingly diverse and inclusive team. She was so blinded by her ideology that she couldn't see the chaos unfolding right in front of her. Liam, Ben, and I tried to talk to her. We scheduled a meeting, prepared a detailed presentation with charts and graphs showing the decline in our productivity and the increase in client complaints. She listened to us with a tight, polite smile. When we were done, she said, "I understand your concerns, but you have to realize that we are going through a cultural shift. It's not always going to be easy, but it's necessary. You need to be more patient and supportive of your new colleagues. They bring a much-needed fresh perspective to our team." We were speechless. It was like talking to a brick wall. A brick wall with an MBA and a subscription to Feminist weekly. We realized that we were on our own. We started working longer hours, picking up the slack from the new hires. We would stay late, fixing their mistakes, redoing their work, and trying to keep our clients from jumping ship. We were exhausted, burnt out, and resentful. But we were also proud of the work we did, and we didn't want to see the company we had helped build go down in flames. The breaking point came with the Artisanal project. Artisanal was a new, high-end online marketplace for handmade crafts. It was our biggest client to date, and the project was a massive undertaking. It involved a complex e-commerce platform, a sophisticated vendor dashboard, and a highly interactive, visually stunning front end. It was the kind of project that would have been a challenge for our old team. For our new team, it was a death sentence. Luna, of course, had promised them the moon. She had agreed to a ridiculously tight deadline and a long list of features that were borderline impossible to implement. Kai was assigned to build the vendor dashboard. Jasmine was in charge of the front-end design, and I was supposed to tie it all together and make it work. Liam was tasked with the server architecture, and Ben was supposed to oversee the user experience. It was a disaster from day one. Kai's code was a mess of bugs and inefficiencies. The vendor dashboard was barely functional. Jasmine's designs were beautiful, but they were a nightmare to implement. She had used a dozen different fonts, 100 different colors, and a collection of high-resolution images that made the website load at a snail's pace. Ben tried to reason with her, to explain the importance of performance and usability. She accused him of stifling her creativity and mansplaining. Ben, who was the most patient and gentle person I knew, just threw his hands up in defeat. I was working 18-hour days, fueled by caffeine and desperation. I was trying to fix Kai's code, optimize Jasmine's designs, and build the core functionality of the website all at the same time. Liam was having a similar experience with the server side of things. He was constantly putting out fires and trying to keep the whole thing from collapsing. Luna, the project manager, was completely oblivious. She would pop into our office with a cheerful smile, ask us how things were going, and then go back to her desk to write a blog post about the importance of diversity in the tech industry. The launch day for Artisanal was a Friday. The client was having a big launch party, and they had invited a bunch of industry influencers and journalists. The pressure was immense. We had been working around the clock for weeks, and we had managed to cobble together something that vaguely resembled a functional website. It was slow, it was buggy, and it was ugly, but it worked, or so we thought. The launch was scheduled for 6 in the evening. At 5:45, the client called us in a panic. They had just done a final run-through of the website, and they had found a major bug. The checkout process was broken. Customers could add items to their cart, but they couldn't actually buy anything. The Pay Now button was completely unresponsive. My blood ran cold. The checkout process was one of the few things that Kai had built entirely on their own. I had been so focused on the other parts of the website that I had only given it a cursory glance. I had trusted them to handle it. It was a rookie mistake. I frantically started digging through Kai's code, trying to find the source of the problem. Liam and Ben were looking over my shoulder, offering suggestions. Kai was sitting at their desk, staring at their screen with a look of pure terror on their face. Jasmine and Luna were in the corner, whispering to each other and occasionally glancing at us with a mixture of pity and contempt. Serafina was on the phone with the client trying to do damage control. Her voice was calm and professional, but I could hear the panic underneath. We had 10 minutes until the launch. 10 minutes to fix a critical bug in a code base that was a tangled mess of spaghetti code and broken logic. It was an impossible task. And then Liam had an idea. What if we bypass the database, he said. What are you talking about, I asked. The payment gateway is working, he said. The problem is with how we're writing the transaction to our own database. What if we just don't? It was a crazy idea. It was a reckless idea. It was a brilliant idea. It would mean that we wouldn't have a record of the sales in our own system, but the client would still get their money. We could fix the database issue later after the launch. It was a hack, a dirty, ugly hack, but it was our only shot. Do it, I said. Liam's fingers flew across his keyboard. He was a magician, a conductor, a surgeon. He navigated the server with a speed and precision that was mesmerizing to watch. He commented out a few lines of code, wrote a few new ones, and then deployed the changes to the live server. Try it now, he said, his voice tense. I refreshed the website on my computer, added an item to my cart, and went to the checkout page. I held my breath and clicked the Pay Now button. It worked. The payment went through. A wave of relief washed over me that was so intense it almost made me dizzy. We had done it. We had saved the launch. I looked over at Liam and Ben, and we all broke into a grin. We were exhausted, we were stressed, and we were probably going to be fired, but in that moment we were triumphant. Serafina came over to our desks, her face a mask of controlled professionalism. What did you do? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. We fixed it, I said, still grinning like an idiot. How? It's complicated, Liam said. Let's just say we used some unconventional methods. Serafina looked at us, then at Luna, Jasmine, and Kai, who were all looking at the floor. And for the first time since she had taken over the company, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. The launch went ahead as planned. It was a huge success. The client was thrilled. The influencers were impressed. The journalists wrote glowing reviews. We were heroes, but we didn't feel like heroes. We felt like janitors who had just cleaned up a massive mess. The next Monday, Serafina called me, Liam, and Ben into her office. We expected to be fired. We had, after all, gone against every best practice in the book. We had deployed untested code to a live server minutes before a major launch. It was a miracle that we hadn't brought the whole thing crashing down, but Serafina didn't fire us. She looked at us, her eyes red and puffy, and she said, "I'm sorry." We were stunned. I had never heard her apologize for anything before. "I was wrong," she said, her voice cracking. "I was so focused on my vision, on my ideology, that I lost sight of what really matters. I hired the wrong people. I pushed them into roles they weren't ready for, and I ignored the people who were actually trying to help. I almost destroyed this company." She took a deep breath and looked us in the eyes. "I need your help," she said. "I want to fix this. I want to build a company that is not just diverse but also competent. A company where everyone has a chance to succeed, but where merit is still the ultimate measure of success." It was a come-to-Jesus moment, not just for her, but for all of us. It was the moment that we realized that we weren't just a collection of individuals with different skills and different backgrounds. We were a team, and we were a team that was about to get a whole lot stronger. Things started to change after that. Luna, Jasmine, and Kai were not fired. Instead, they were moved into more junior roles where they could learn and grow without the pressure of a major project on their shoulders. Liam, Ben, and I were promoted. We were given the responsibility of mentoring the new hires, of teaching them the skills they needed to succeed. It wasn't easy. There were still moments of frustration and misunderstanding. But there was also a new sense of hope and optimism in the office. We were all working towards the same goal, and we were all in it together. The company started to thrive. Our productivity went up. Our clients were happier. We were even getting new business. One day, a few months later, Serafina called me into her office. She had a smile on her face, a real smile, not the tight, polite one she used to wear. I wanted to show you something, she said, and she turned her computer screen towards me. It was an article in a major tech publication. The headline was How Artisanal's Visionary CEO Built a Thriving, Diverse, and High-Performing Team. The article was full of praise for Serafina and her innovative approach to management. It talked about our culture of mentorship and our commitment to excellence. It was a complete whitewashing of what had actually happened, but I didn't care, I just smiled. That's great, Serafina, I said. You deserve it, and I meant it, because she had learned a valuable lesson. A lesson that had nothing to do with feminism or diversity or inclusion. A lesson about leadership, about humility, and about the importance of putting people before ideology. And that was a lesson that was worth more than all the buzzwords in the world.